all of humanity flounders around in confusion, fear, stress, and disease. This Kabbalistic information has been handed down through the religious and intellectual systems that have plagued the world since the beginning of this conjured-up creation. Kabbalism kicked into high gear with the onslaught of the Renaissance around the year 1000 AD. The Renaissance literally means the rebirth of thinking. This is not to say that the Luciferian egregore group stopped thinking previous to that. What this does say is that the push for total domination, total submission, and total control was now on. What we'll focus on next is how this conjuring up of light manipulates all of humanity, and how to reconnect to our awareness and wisdom and the eternal power that is rightfully ours. Everything that's visible within this three-dimensional space is light. If matter is accelerated to the speed of light times the speed of light, it becomes energy, which is light. All that exists is formed from energy and light. For thousands of years, humanity has contemplated and asked repeatedly, where did we come from? The information you've just heard explained the origin of everything, the source of light, and the creation of all three-dimensional matter, which is energy. Before light existed, there was a void of nothingness. A like-minded Luciferian group of beings took upon themselves to control this void of nothingness. This void contains all the greatness of the eternal state. These beings desired to control for themselves all the power and wisdom of this nothingness, and thereby be worshipped as God. Here's how it works. The name Lucifer means light bringer or light bearer. The name Lucifer is derived from the Latin words lucem fer. Lucem means bringer or bearer, and fer means light. Lucem fer is Lucifer. Genesis chapter 1 of the Old Testament fills in without any doubt who the light bringer is and who or what Lucifer is. Genesis 1 verse 1 and 3 states, "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." We've only read up to verse 3 of Genesis chapter 1, and already a hypnotic trance has been established. Very few will question that there even is a God. So anything that's written after these words is like shooting ducks in a barrel. Interestingly, this same concept of the light bringer, the day star or the bright and morning star, has been applied to Jesus as well. In the New Testament, in Revelation 22:16, we read where Jesus said of himself, "I, Jesus, I am the bright and morning star." Here we see that God is Lucifer, the light bringer. However, God is not just one supreme being, but a group entity, an egregore group thought form, agreeing together to appear as God. They've created the world systems of duality, based on right and wrong, good and bad. They play the role of a good God and a bad devil. This Luciferian mindset shows itself in history as the mythical gods of old, each with a particular characteristic. These gods, when taken together, form the egregore group of thinking entities. God said, "Let there be light." God spoke. Speaking a word requires a thought. The word that this egregore God spoke was a thought. Every thought is a word. All words have sound. Even sounds not audible to our physical ears have sound. Sounds vibrate. Thoughts, which are words, which are sounds, vibrate. Vibration is energy. Energy has a strange characteristic in that it glows. Glowing is light. Therefore, thoughts are light. Everything you see is just a thought, conjured up by the Luciferian group of thinkers, and everything you see is formed by thought. Following this thought to word to sound trail ultimately leads to the creation of light. The very nature of light is to corrupt. This thought process called thinking has created the corruptible three-dimensional realm. Everything in this 3D space corrupts and dies. Light is nothing more than thought, and the thought form of the Luciferian thinkers is designed to create death, thereby controlling humanity through the fear of death. This God purposely and willfully created the concept known as death, and that's all death is, a concept. Death is an illusion, a manipulation of light through thought. Manipulating humanity with this illusion instills fear and desperation. Fear is the foundational characteristic that allows hypnotic, subliminal thought light patterns to be focused and injected into and forced to pass through our crystal brain. Our human three-dimensional brain has the same physical characteristics as that of a solid crystal or prism, except in liquid form. There's nothing godly, loving, or sweet about this group entity or its method of manipulation. For thousands of years, the use of fear and desperation has resulted in murders, wars, bloodletting, and endless disease. Children have been tortured, women have been raped, and men have marched blindly off the plank into the ocean of hypocrisy and death. This has all been courtesy of the God of the Bible, the God of love, the God of the Old and New Testaments, the God of the Quran, the God of Buddha, the God of every religion and intellectual system known to man. This is the God of light, the Luciferian light bringer. Genesis 1 continues to say that God saw the light, that it was good. But good for who? Obviously good for those who were using it to control humanity through the manipulation of light. Yet again we have another subliminal. God doesn't say that anything is bad, it's just implied, suggested, implanted. If light is good, then something must be bad. When we consider how we see things in this 3D space, we're told, from an intellectual perspective, that light enters through the pupil of our eye, where it strikes the back of the eye, where it's reversed, and then travels along a neurological path to our brain, where it's flipped right side up again, and we see an image. Unfortunately, this is incorrect. Light is thought, and the thought of what we are intended to see is implanted within the liquid crystal prison of our brain. The suggestion, which originated from the Luciferian mindset, travels through the crystal brain, and similar to a ray of light passing through a rain shower, a rainbow of three-dimensional color, form, and sound explodes in front of us. Whatever suggestion is attached to that explosion emanating from our crystal brain determines color, shape, depth, sound, and so on. The things we see, the sounds we hear, the smells we smell, all these details are within the thought, which is the word, the sound, the vibration, the energy, the glowing, and is the light. This has all been implanted in our brains as subliminal suggestion, and we believe it. Because we believe our senses and all the suggestion attached to them, it seems real. Even the sun, moon, and stars that reflect light to our eyes make up the hypnotic suggestion to convince us that what we see is real. It's only light. It's just a seductive, illusory, convincing thought form conjured up by the Luciferian group of thinkers.